So I've been working with startups and entrepreneurial companies most of my life. So I'm a lot more fascinated by large companies and companies that really have impact and do things right now. So when I got invited to come and join Absolut Vodka for a couple of days when they had a strategy session, I was completely thrilled and blown away. And I don't know if you know the history of Absolut Vodka, but it was actually created by Swedes. It's a very, in a country where you have Systembolaget, they create the best vodka in the world, takes it to the US, conquers the US, and the stories connected to that are marketing history. They were the first one to embrace art and aesthetical values, the Absolut Warhol, and all these other fantastic collaborations. They were the first ones to really embrace the gay community and sponsor their magazines and events and things. And when HIV came, they doubled up when everybody moved out and created communities that were really, really authentic. So when I asked the CEO of TAC, as they're called, the Absolut Company, to come here today and share how you build iconic brands in a digital era, I was extremely pleased when he said yes. So without further ado, please welcome the CEO of the Absolut Company, Paul Duffy.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here. And I'm going to talk a little bit more than technology because, we have physical products. I'm going to talk a little bit about physical products. But I'm going to talk about the three great trends and how these three great trends are impacting our business. Ecology, the environment. Number 2, of course, is globalization. And number 3 is technology. I guess why most people here are in this room. This is a physical product. It's great, isn't it? This is Absolut Citron. It's my favorite bottle of Absolut. It's a fantastic Swedish brand, wonderfully created. No one's found a way yet of porting portable kind of over the cloud and into someone's home, and no one's found a way to put it down a copper pipe. This is the physical realm. Now, 3D might do that in a couple of years. It might happen. But people still want to go out. People still want to party. People still want to celebrate. And how we respond to those three questions of ecology, the environment, how we respond to globalization, and how we respond to technology is utterly changing, even in our world, and has changed over the last 5 years. I really like this quote. It just really gets me. Every time you spend money, you're casting a vote for the kind of world you want. I mean, consumer consciousness has just been so raised over the last 5 years. Maybe it was because of the economic crisis, the financial crisis in 2008. My suspicion is it goes much further than that, much, much deeper than that. Because people want integrity in brands. They want to be able to see that brands are really delivering on the truths. And if we think about how Absolut responds to that, we'll just take that conversation a little bit further. Because for us, for example, the environment is tremendously important, and sustainability is tremendously important. We talk in our brand about one source, about one community, about one superb vodka. This here is a picture of winter wheat from Scania. Excuse me if I pronounced that incorrectly. On our bottle, you will see everything is produced in Aarhus. That's an A with a little kind of thing on the top, H-U-S. And, everything is one source. That's what we do. And it's very, very sustainable. We take about 15 to 20% of the region's winter wheat. Everything we do down there is about, as I said, environmental. We're one of the most green manufacturers on the planet. We've seen our carbon emissions per liter go down by about 80% since 2004. So this is a very, very serious thing for us and something that we're terribly committed to. And also, I think it's a great thing because it really represents Swedish DNA. I don't know anybody in Sweden who doesn't believe this. Therefore, it's something that really is something we can intertwine with our brand and really represent our brand in a very, very positive way. And if we think about that one source, we bring it a step further when we come to our luxury vodka, which retails at about 2 times the price of a standard bottle in the United States. We talk about integrity here, because this really is the idea of one brought to a new level. It's one farm, one still. It's finished in one still. It's a beautifully renovated 1921 copper still, absolutely gorgeous piece of equipment. We believe you should drink it on 1 cube of ice. Hack the ice. It's absolutely beautiful. And so for us, really is a tremendously powerful thought and something that we really want to kind of grasp on. But the second big kind of trend that everybody talks about is globalization. We send out about 43 containers from Aarhus every single working day. We sell 100 million liters plus of vodka annually. We're the number 5 spirit brand in the world. We're the number 1 imported brand in the United States. This is a real powerhouse. And while globalization is a tremendous opportunity for us in terms of all these export markets where we're growing, whether that's in Latin America, whether that's in Asia, whether the new markets in Africa, these are tremendous opportunities. They also pose a tremendously difficult challenge for us, because consumers, as you know, are so intertwined. If someone says something to you about your brand in Latin America, it gets picked up very quickly somewhere else in the world. So this interconnectivity is a tremendous opportunity for us, but it is also something that we make sure we manage in a very, very systematic and positive way. I said at the start of my brief speech that we are in the business of physical products and being real. And if you look at this image, this is a nightclub. And our playground, in many ways, for our brand is nights. That's where we want to play. As a brand, it might change. You might have more technology and lights and laser shows and whatever. But fundamentally, people are still going to go out. People still want to meet. People still want to interact. People still want to celebrate. So it's very important that we remain relevant in that sphere. But how do we do that in a context where not only are media habits changing, whether that's due to, I don't know, the bombardment consumers get of messages. We know that millennials, for example, are tremendously skeptical about advertising. But they want the truth about brands. We know about the speed of information. We just know about how much information and data gets pushed out to consumers all the time and how challenging that is to be able to pull it apart. And we know that brands nowadays need to have a social point of view. And I'm glad Ola said one of the things that Absolut really took on at a very early age was diversity. And we're very proud to be a tremendously strong and long supporter of gay pride and the LGBT community. So we also talk a little bit about the collaborations we've had. On the left-hand side there, you'll see a very famous image and a very famous picture. Painting, should I say. It was drawn by Andy Warhol at the start of the 1980s. Now, what we used to do is we would commission a famous artist or somebody, actually more an up-and-rising artist, and we would say, well, okay, paint our bottle, do something with our bottle. And that person would paint a beautiful painting, as this one was, and then we would take that and we would put it into a broadcast medium. We'd put it onto Vogue. We'd put it into the back page of Harper's or some type of magazine, and that's how we would try to communicate. And we call that broadcast model. The broadcast model is where you are shouting as loud as you can, and you hope something lands on the consumer's ears, but they aren't listening anymore. So that model is dying. It really is dying. The broadcast model is very challenging, because on the right-hand side, you see this need for interconnectivity, this need for much more than just broadcast. This need to move from shouting to doing. People want experiences with your brand. People want to see relevant content with your brand. People want to move from saying to doing. People want to move from monologue to dialogue. Are you having a conversation with your consumers? Is your consumer talking and feeding back to you? And that's a totally different way. The previous speaker talked about the kind of individualization of monetization models that you can have when you think about Huffington Post. Well, that's what consumers want. They want individualization. They want brands talking one-to-one. And it's a dialogue. It is no longer a monologue. And that represents a tremendous shift in our type of industry. I'm going to show you a little kind of tool that we use to help us think about how to handle this shift. And it's a very simple idea. We call it the bow tie model because it really is hopefully kind of self-explanatory. The bow tie model puts at its center some content or some experience. And then what we try to do is we try to build our communications around that center of experience and that center of content. And it can look like this. It's a very, very simple construct. So you can see how you quickly get a bow tie out of this. So we have our absolute nights. I took something that's pretty generic, so I talked about nights and how we want to always kind of build up nights. And we think about amplifying into that experience or into that content, and then on the way out, we amplify out. Now, who's the kings of this type of business? The kings are Coca-Cola. They do this incredibly well. Because on the way out, they get consumers to do all the work for them. Consumers participate. Consumers take selfies. Consumers upload videos. Consumers put things on YouTube. Consumers get sparked an idea. I mean, isn't one of the greatest examples we've had recently the ALS challenge? Wasn't that one of the most extraordinary these smart ways of thinking about an experience in the middle? And suddenly you have the pressure on the President of the United States. Is he going to do his ALS challenge? I don't think he did, by the way, did he? But all the great actors and celebrities of the world and sports guys, everybody doing this challenge. And it really amplified itself and created its own momentum. So we try to put either a piece of content, best if you can put an experience in the middle of that you can amplify on the way out. And I've shown some things that apply, whether that's bought media, whether that's earned media, whether that's owned media, and I think it's important to say about this as well, that this is really a planned event way of thinking. Unplanned events require an always-on presence that's completely different. So if we think about an unplanned event, it's something like, let's say the lights go down here, the electricity supply is gone. Oh my God, what do? Who's the first brand that can come out with a smart tweet about Sime's lack of light or whatever it is? The famous one, of course, is the Super Bowl in the United States when the lights went down and brands quickly come out and threw out some relevant tweets that were picked up very, very quickly. So this is really about planned events, about how you plan your kind of calendar in any given year. Now, I have, hopefully if I press this, there's going to be a video, we'll see. This is a real broadcast video, but I want to just show it to you because I want to show and talk about how we brought it to life on the way in and on the way out. And on the way in, before this was launched, for example, we had a huge amount of teasers on the net. We went through a lot of digital channels to start getting people to think about it. And it involves a video we had with another Swedish icon, which is Swedish House Mafia. Let's see whether this works. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what a Greyhound is a cocktail. It's a very common cocktail in the United States. So we built a communication message around a cocktail, and obviously we're integrating with Swedish House Mafia in terms of actually using that. But as I said, that's just not good enough anymore. The program you build around that really is the critical element. And if I look at, we sponsored, for example, their tour around the world. We had, I can't remember how many cities it was, but it was a fantastically successful tour. And we can really activate that by bringing our brand into that environment. It's absolutely perfect for us in terms of environment. We can invite consumers in through their social media, get tickets, all this type of stuff. And that's even still all a bit old broadcasty. At the time of one of the concerts in the middle there, it was very interesting, we had Hurricane Sandy hit in the United States. And the unplanned thing that we did was we gave some money towards some charity, some help in terms of the impact of Hurricane Sandy. And as a result of that, we had the Empire State colored in the colors of the Swedish flag. So we also did lots of digital work around it on the far right-hand side. We talked about how you make this drink. We produced this wonderful kind of movie type of interactive thing on the net where you've over 3,500 drinks available in terms of teaching people how to make drinks, how to make cocktails. You can remix the music yourself. There's just so much stuff there. It was incredibly powerful, all this work that we did around the center, as I said, of that kind of bow tie. And, as a result, I think the music remains their biggest hits on Spotify for Swedish House Mafia, and also, it had garnered over 50 million unique YouTube views. So, this was a pretty successful piece of work from our side, and we were absolutely delighted with it. So let me just kind of end with this thought about technology and how we are changing as a result of technology. We've done things like hackathons in the bottom left-hand corner. We had one in 2013, I think it was, in Sweden. We plan to have one pretty soon again, where we're getting people in to try to hack ideas and come up with innovative solutions about how we can go to our consumers. These are great things, and hopefully many of you in this room will participate. We have a limited edition bottle, for example, called the Warhol bottle. We've taken that print image, we've put it in the bottle, and we've shipped it out as a limited edition to many markets around the world. But as part of that, we've created this thing called an art exchange. So you can go onto the web, you create your own piece of digital art, and we will create an exchange where you will receive back someone else's digital art, and we want to be the biggest digital art exchange in the world. And that's just launched over the last few weeks. And of course, we have the connectivity, again, on the right-hand side of all the different elements that when you do a program like the Warhol's limited edition, that you put out into the market. So the Warhol limited edition for us, in this case, for this OND period, we call it the October, November, December period, is the center of our bow tie. And on the top right-hand corner, we have this thing called Drinkspiration, where you can mix any type of drink, and we'll teach you how to do all these wonderful things. So 3 thoughts in terms of these mega trends. We have the environmental trend, we have the globalization trend, and obviously we have the technology trend. These are impacting us tremendously strongly in terms of how we communicate with consumers. And I think that the demands of consumers are changing tremendously. Consumers are demanding more honesty, consumers are demanding more openness, consumers are demanding more integrity, and we must absolutely be in a position to respond to that. And I think that makes for a very brave, but also a very exciting world. If I look at our company, and I think about all these kind of young people coming into our company, and just the energy and the thinking and the way that it's just such a fantastically dynamic world. And our challenge is really, how do we embrace that, and how do we go and funnel it? And as I said, one of the ways that we think about it is to try and put an experience, or to put some content that's really relevant at the center of what we call a bow tie model. And then we amplify into the bow tie, and we make sure that we amplify out from the bow tie. And that's a great way for us to talk to our consumers. Now, this is my last slide. I'll leave you with one thought. Here's our email address. Lots of you people are tech smart. We love you to get involved. We love you guys to get involved with us. We're going to have another hackathon. We're going to keep trying to challenge ourselves, challenge how we think about things, how we can communicate through all these different changes in media. And anybody who's interested to engage in that conversation, there's an email address up there, and we'd be delighted to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you very much. And when are we going to drink vodka drinks? We have to do that together.
Yes. You could come back to one of our events, and we're delighted to do that.
There's one thing I want to ask you about as well. The concept of onödigt bra.
Yeah, I can never translate it. What does it mean? It means perfection and getting perfection. And you know, we talk about it a lot down in Aarhus, because it's the idea of really trying to strive for perfection. And I think it's a great idea. You know, I think it's a very Swedish thing, by the way. I think it's really interesting, because I think this is such an incredibly sophisticated country. It's such an incredibly, you know, dynamic place in many ways. And to keep chasing something, keep improving, is kind of in the DNA here. And I think that's a tremendous way of describing our mission.
Thank you very much.